The nation has been following the Kennedy family for a long, long time. One of the Kennedys who's been turned into something of a folk hero is Bobby. And Peter is talking to an author who's putting that chapter of the Kennedy saga in perspective. Peter?
Thanks, Jill. This is something that I've been wondering about ever since I first heard the name Kennedy and wondered why people always listened so intently when you said that name. John Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy. The name of the book is Bobby Kennedy, The Making of a Folk Hero. Lester David is co-author with your wife, Irene?
That's right.
Okay. So, explain to me the question that I have been asking myself for years. Why the fascination with the Kennedys?
Because they're rich, because they're powerful, because they're glamorous, because they are our American royalty. We are idolatrous of royalty, British royalty. We don't have any. Now we have the Kennedys. And because they have had so many tragedies in their lives, you know, it's like any soap opera. It pales in significance before the trials of the Kennedy family.
Let me hold the book up so we can take a picture of it. When I was glancing through the book, I said to myself, Lester David had to go get 19 different sides to every story that there is in this book because there are so many different facets and so many different versions.
Yes, Peter, you have to check out every one of them because you don't know which is the truth. And there are a number of things that are still a little bit vague, but you try to go with the things that you can document.
One of the things that I noticed is that Bobby Kennedy carried a lot more clout in reality, at least the way you have it put down here, than most people knew.
Yes. Bobby Kennedy was a very, he was a moralist. He was a zealot. He fought for moral justice. He was capable of moral outrage, is what I'm trying to say. He was the voice of the helpless, the hopeless, and the voiceless, and he went at this with the same kind of tenacity that he did when he was a kid and trying to make football teams. He was a rotten football player, but he got on the football team because of his eagerness and his ability just to stick to it.
I believe one of his coaches said what he liked was the crunch.
Yes, Bobby liked to crunch. Even as a prep school boy, he liked to hit. And this is what he did when he grew up and hit what he thought were the targets. The targets being people who exploited the helpless.
It makes a lot of people speculate about what would have happened had Bobby Kennedy lived.
Well, would he have been elected president? I believe so. But nobody can say. Sure. What would have, the more interesting question is, suppose Bobby would have been elected president, what would have happened? And I spoke to many dozens of people with my wife and asked that question. And the answers are rather interesting. In fact, they're fascinating. The Vietnam War would have ended immediately because he was passionately devoted to ending the war. We would have had civil liberties a lot quicker than they actually happened. The CIA's fangs would have been drawn. And very interestingly, people have told us that a Bobby Kennedy administration would have been the real Camelot. The John Kennedy Camelot was a myth, was a fairy tale. It was grace, it was beauty, it was charm. But the Bobby
this would have been different.
The real Camelot would have been the Bobby Kennedy administration.
Well, Lester David, thank you very much for coming in. Bobby Kennedy, The Making of a Folk Hero is the name of the book.
Thank you.
Jill?
Up next, Bill Ross.